All right. I believe I'm officially live. Facebook, Instagram. Uh, it's exciting, probably a little nerve wracking too, but it's good. So, starting out, hey, my name is Steven, AKA even Steven Money. I got one more thing. Now I'm like recording everything, so bear with me for, of course, for just a moment. Okay, great. So I'm live now. My name is Steven, aka even Steven Money, and I'm doing Facebook Live today, Instagram Live. So maybe different angles. I hope it turns out great. I hope everything works. I hope I didn't unplug the microphone or turn it off, or I've got a few things going. So hopefully it works and it looks good. And if it doesn't, hey, we're gonna try better next time. But what I'm talking about today is my most recent blog post, and that was when I caddied for Michael Jordan. So remember, we're live. So anything that I say, I might mess up once or twice, but it's going to sound good and I'll keep going. So don't worry about it. Just happy that you're joining. So Michael Jordan, I worked at a golf course in the greater Chicagoland area for most of my college. And if you read the blog post, great, but I'll fill you in on a couple of things as we go. And when I was at this golf course, you kind of worked your way up, but you also had the opportunity to caddy for, CEOs of, business owners and different people. So it was a lot of fun, but also kind of like nerve wracking and like learning what to do. But you were there for the money and, trying to get the extra funds for your college tuition, or for me at least, or housing or extra beer money in some cases. But it was great. So what I wanted to do was run through the one time that I had the opportunity to caddy for Michael Jordan. So like Michael Jordan, MJ, number 23, probably heard of him. And if you haven't, I don't know. That's crazy to me. I guess maybe if you haven't heard of him, he's the LeBron James of, years before. But one of the things I wanted to talk about that I mentioned is, when you go through and you're caddying, whether it's in business or in life or different things, I pulled up a couple of lessons, and I'm gonna grab a notebook because I wrote a couple of them down. And so it's a great opportunity, right? But the entire time, you have to work for it. And that's what's so important. So I showed up every day. It wasn't like I could go at, whatever, 3:00 in the afternoon and someone would call me and say, Michael Jordan is coming to the golf course. It just didn't happen that way. But you had to show up every day expecting that, Michael Jordan was going to be there, or, you weren't there just for just for Michael Jordan. You were there a lot of times for the money, or you loved golf, or you loved, being there every day. It was a very casual setting. But when it happened, the opportunity, I was told in advance by our caddy master, in advance, it was that morning. I actually showed up at, I think I was there that day at like 5 a.m. or 5:45. It was like whatever time they allowed us to enter the gates and come in, that's what time I showed up. Because, I always wanted the best caddy or the quickest loop or what have you. So that's what I did. And it ended up being me and another guy. His name was Ed. He was older than me, but I was only like 20 something at the time. So I think he was maybe in his early 30s. And we got to, caddy for Michael Jordan. So we were waiting and, we saw different people coming in. And then of course you see Michael Jordan's car, which I think he had a few of them that came through, but I believe this one was the Maserati, which, what $200,000 or $300,000 car, that he brought that day, right? And so we were waiting for him, and we all got to go up. And he came in like an entourage. It was, I think he had, if I remember right, I think he had 8 total people. So there was 2 groups. So we went off with a 4. And then we did something it was called forecaddying. So we would run up ahead and, we would see where the ball was going or what have you. But, it was just a constant reminder. I had worked at the golf course for man, at that time, maybe 3-4 years. And this was the first time I got to caddy for Michael Jordan. Maybe other people had, caddied many times before, or, there was definitely better caddies than me. I wasn't the best. I know that for a fact. But it was great. It was great to be able to say that I caddied for Michael Jordan. And a lot of it was, that hard work, that's showing up every day. And so that's what I did. So I really wanted to make sure that was brought across. And you know what? Showing up every day, working hard, good things happen. And, and it's part of, Even Steven Money and being a part of it, because, I'm going to be here every day. Maybe not on Facebook Live, but I'm going to be here every day. And, good things eventually are going to happen. I really believe that. And, I'm working to be America's favorite money coach, as I say. But I'm just excited about the experience, about helping others, and, good things, right? And if you're not ready, like for that day when I got to caddy for him, you have to be ready. You have to show up every day. You have to, he could have came to me and said, you know what, I'm actually really nervous. He's my childhood idol. This guy, 6 NBA championships, he's a millionaire, now a billionaire, and said, no, I'm a little, that's too much for me. That's a scary moment. I'm going to pass. Or, many things could happen. You have to be ready for that moment. And that day, probably, what do they say? A little bit of, sweat, and combine it with some good luck, messing that one up. But it helps. It helps to be a little lucky too. So one thing there's a couple things that were interesting, like during the day, that I kind of didn't share in the blog post itself. But so one was, so I mentioned the $10,000 for the first birdie, which I thought he was kidding. I swear I thought he was kidding, but everyone else literally was dead silent. They were putting and they were like shaking almost, because it was, I don't think everyone there was a millionaire. It was, it was guys from, my understanding, it was guys from Atlanta, some of his friends from Atlanta that he, either that he grew up with or North Carolina area. But it was insane. And then finally someone dropped a birdie, and it's been a while, but I don't think it was Jordan. I think it was another guy. So it kind of, it quieted down, it livened up after that, because, they were worried, like, oh my goodness, I'm putting for 10 grand. Excuse me for the drink. But yeah, so they were actually putting for $10,000, which was insane to me. So one thing that I also want to mention, involved in the blog post, was to take responsibility. Talk about one of the scariest moments out there. So we're on hole number, I believe it's 15. So 15 at the golf course was a dog leg left. So it kind of goes like this, and then it goes like that. So it goes to the left, and it goes over these trees. So Jordan was playing from the back tees. So to hit it over the trees was a little bit harder. But once you got it over these trees, it kind of almost gets on this like big landing pad. And then once it's there, it just rolls up to the green. So if you hit it that far, great. It's like an easy hole. But if you cut the trees too close, you end up, your ball gets lost, or it's harder to find. And in this instance, we had already done 18 holes. So this was our, 33rd hole. And I don't know if I just, I actually remember kind of jumping a little bit, because I was like, to me, that was my home stretch. And I was like jumping to the next hole because I was running ahead. And I don't know if I took my eye off the ball. I don't know if I was looking at it, perfect. I don't know what happened, but I remember him hitting it and thinking like, oh, that was a really nice shot. That should, I should be just like right where it's supposed to be. It should be perfect. And I didn't see it go through, but again, it's a lot harder to see because of the trees, and, kind of has a dip. So you might not see it come back up. And so I didn't follow the ball, and I didn't see it land perfectly. And oh my goodness, I lost it. Like, we couldn't find it. And this wasn't like it was a 2-minute, Like, hey, did you find the ball? No, let's move on. No. We were there for like 20 minutes searching for this ball because he hit it almost perfect. It was insane. We had no idea where it was. And then I felt so guilty. I was almost ashamed that I didn't find that ball. Like, okay, great. Not only did I ruin the day caddying for, Michael Jordan, we lost the ball. He's probably not gonna even tip me. Lucky if I even get paid today. And like, you want to do your best, and you want to do your best for anyone, but like, you want to do your best for Michael Jordan, so I did, but I definitely took responsibility. When it happened, I didn't blame it on anyone. I was very like somber, my head was down, but he never said like, I can't believe you didn't find that ball, because that has happened before where a golfer has got mad. But he was great about it. Plus, he had a lot more clout amongst the group, because if he would have wanted to, he could have just went back and reteed it. He wouldn't have had any issues. But I took responsibility for it. I didn't say like, hey, Michael, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to lose your ball. This was all my fault. I didn't go that far, but I also didn't blame others. So I think I took some responsibility. So no matter where you are, whether it's on the golf course, whether you're handling your money, whether you're on the road to retirement, relax. I thought I was on the home stretch, and you take essentially, like, baseball, golf analogy, you take your eye off the ball and like you can lose it, and just like that. So that was pretty rough, but it was great. It was a great experience. I ended up, I didn't get any souvenirs per se. I did a week later actually find a Michael Jordan golf ball. I was caddying for some ladies, and they were looking for balls in the water, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll look for you, and ended up finding a Michael Jordan golf ball. I did not tell them I had that ball, because they probably would have asked for it. But yeah, so I've got a Michael Jordan golf ball that I have, and then I don't know if he gave me one to hold on to in case he needed another one, or I just forgot about it. But I actually had one that I had one from that day as well. So that was pretty cool. So I ended up having 2 Michael Jordan logo golf balls that, as far as I know, I'll have for the rest of my life, which was that's my memento. I didn't take a picture or anything. The fact that he called me Stevie definitely, I'll always remember that too, because like I said, there's very few people who call me Stevie. Maybe a couple of family members and a couple of people, kidding around. But I kind of say like, I only allow MJ and my grandfather to say it. So if I see him again, I'm fine. What am I, 30, 36? He can call me Stevie. I'm okay with that. But hey, there was a lot of stuff that I learned too at the golf course, and I wanted to just touch on them a little bit. And because I was caddying for, and excuse me, drink again. So I was caddying for millionaires, VPs of banks, CEOs, business owners, and just some of the stuff that I learned was really interesting. So what was interesting is, I'll start with the cars. So the parking lot was actually filled with, a bunch of different cars. But at that time, like, it didn't really click, because I would see there was a guy who was, I think he was like VP of a bank, and he would come in this old Porsche, and it's like 90s Porsche, something like that. But you could tell it wasn't like a really nice Porsche. It was just ones that he probably had for a while. And like, we didn't get it. We were like, he's probably got all this money and he's driving in this, 1990s Porsche, which is, probably like 10 grand, or I don't really know the exact price. And there was even I remember another guy who showed up a lot, that he had this old Jeep Grand Cherokee, and there was like caddies who had nicer cars than this guy. And it didn't click at the time, but they just valued something else more. But we would also see, we would see the Maseratis, we would see, expensive BMWs and Mercedes. There was a lot of money in that parking lot, and you kind of saw it with the different cars that came in, and especially, I think I caddied for Jordan that one time, but he came in a lot, especially early on. So I mean, it was the first time I saw a car with suicide doors. I didn't even know what a suicide door was, but it's the one that kind of, when it opens, it goes up like that. There we go. So it was amazing to me to see that. And I think that one was McLaren. I think he showed up. Look that one up, because I think it's like a $200,000-$300,000 car. But yeah, he would show up in a McLaren. Brian Urlacher, I remember him showing up, and he had this, it was the Cadillac Escalade truck that he would show up in. But I also think I felt like he got it for free, because I thought he did commercials or something, but he showed up in that. But it showed me not to put all the value in like what the car is. It also showed that these guys were willing to pay a lot of money, or at least a lot of money to me, for to golf every day at a nice golf I thought I was heading to. And it ended up not being, it ended up being totally opposite. But it was interesting to see, the different dynamics, whether it be money. So it actually, and this is all rumors, so I don't know the exact totals, but I believe it was like $85,000 to join the golf course. That you had to go through like a bunch of things, including, there was like background checks. And I remember like one of the Bears players, actually, the story was he didn't get in because he had like an old like assault charge or something like that. There's always a bunch of stories out there that, if you ever see me, grab a coffee or a beer, and I'll try to remember all of them, especially the sports ones. I mean, I remember running into, Cordell Stewart, and that was when he had like just been traded or just signed with the Bears. And it was amazing to me. It was like, he was so small. He was like 5'10". And so I thought he was the smallest guy, because I expected, you expect everybody who plays football to be this like giant. And he was not. I know he was fast, but he wasn't that tall. But working with everyone, so back to the 85,000, and then I believe you had to pay, I think it was $10,000 to $15,000 a year in dues, which again, those are numbers that they don't even compute for me. $10,000 to $15,000. That's every year, and when someone's making 200, 300, 400, or millions, it's not as big of a deal. But, they still had to pay that money. And that it brought out some of the things in me that I think I thought I was going to do, or thought I was going to succeed with. And when I wrote down my goals kind of coming out of college, I thought I was going to be one of those guys. Thought I was going to be a financial advisor or owning my own business. And I would join a country club, immediately. And then I would golf every day. And when golf every day, not work every day, golf every day, and pay the membership fees. But, it turns out that ended up being not what I was about. But I didn't find that out till later, where now I'm like this frugal person who spending money on golf is, a huge luxury for me. I mean, maybe down the road, I can imagine, I'm probably more of the public course golf guy, but we'll see. But there is a lot of things that you learn. And let me take the water again. So another thing that was interesting was, at least on a personal level, was we were paid in cash. So it was interesting and I was in between the ages of like 19 and 23, give or take, while I was working there. And to be paid anywhere from, $80 to $100 when you worked was crazy. And it was all cash. So you would get done with a 4 or 5 hour round, give or take, and then they would hand you $100 in cash, or $80, or whatever they tipped you. And as a college student, you had to figure out what to do with that money. And oh man, being at the being at the golf course, there was always gambling going on because that was when poker was really big. There was always, there was practice holes, so we would play them, and then we would play for a couple of dollars. So there was that, and then also, you'd get done with work, or you'd have some downtime, and where would you go? You'd go to Arby's or McDonald's or the local breakfast place. So you're always spending. You had the cash, you might as well spend it, and so there was that. And then also, I remember really distinctly, there was one, I don't know if it was a week or it was 2 weeks, whatever it was, but I was holding on to all this cash. So I had a really good week or length of time. And there was a time I literally had the fat stack of 20s and 100s from the golf course. And I was actually scared. I was like hiding it. I used to live in my sister's during the summer. So I was hiding it, because that was so much money to me. And it would be so much money to me today, to be honest. But in cash, I had no idea. And I don't know if I put a rubber band around it. And then you end up going to deposit that into your bank, and you kind of feel it didn't, most people deposit checks. I was depositing like big wads of cash each week and doing my best then, of course, to, spend it on college or tuition or what have you. So I definitely learned some cash management. It also, again, it reinforced probably some of the bad habits I had, because, I had all this cash, I could spend it. I didn't really need it for anything, school, of course. Again, I don't know where all that money went, because I ended up, coming out of college with, thousands of dollars of debt. So I think it just paid for like maybe my housing or maybe fun parties. I'm not sure anymore, but it was good. It's learning from the professionals. I also wanted to hit that. One of the things that happened I found really interesting is how the golfers, so like the CEOs, the VPs, the football, basketball players, how they reacted around different people. So they usually, the most common thing was either to golf with your buddies, like your friends or people at the golf course, or you would bring in your family, or you would bring in clients. So there was a lot of client golf happening. And, with your buddies or with the guys at the golf course, totally different than clients or family. And clients or family are like very similar, just with probably like like if you're with your wife or your kids or family, or you're with clients, you're always trying to impress, which is pretty comical. Like, oh, go ahead and pick that up, or like, just throw one out there. We don't care. Oh, that was a great shot, Jim. It was really funny. But then like when you're with your buddies, or you're like in your competition, you're making fun of, hey Jim, yeah, nice shot. I'm glad that one didn't go in the water, right? Just stupid stuff. So you would see just like the different sides of people too, and which was, again, seeing them on like a constant, or seeing them like more often, you kind of saw like into them a little bit. But these guys are, they're hardworking people. Sometimes where they got their money, sometimes you don't. Sometimes exactly what they do. Sometimes you have no idea, but you would hear different stories. Funny, actually enough, my wife, he's like the CEO or the VP. She actually works at his bank now, funny enough, but I won't go too much into that, privacy, what have you, but it was great. So seeing those different people, and some of the people that I caddy with too, also seeing like what they did kind of with their lives and what they've been doing. I won't dive into them too much, but it is really interesting. Some of them actually, I know one guy for sure, he was like in love with caddying. He would go back all the time. He really enjoyed the golf, the people, the travel. He had some flexibility, because it only goes for, a certain amount of time for the year. So those are kind of the stories that that I remember off the top of my head. Oh, let me tell you a couple. I'll finish it up here. I wanted to go for about 30 minutes. I know it's probably pretty long, but so I've got about 5 minutes left. 5 minutes. 5 minutes left. And I'll tell a couple Michael Jordan stories. So just, and then not my personal ones, but ones that I remember people telling me. So it was really funny. There was this girl, there was only a couple girls that we caddied with, but we were all sitting in her truck before, because that was, there wasn't like a huge seating area. So we were sitting in the back of her truck, a bunch of us. And then she ended up getting called to go caddy, and it happened to be for Michael Jordan. And it was kind of early. I don't know. It was like 9 o'clock, something like that. And we were talking the whole time beforehand, and she had lunch, or she bought lunch. I think she brought it. But anyways, I had stayed the whole time because I was trying to get a loop, or I was trying to get work. And I stayed so long that when she came back, I was there. And the first thing she did when she came up, I was like, hey, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. And I was like, the good news is you caddied for Michael Jordan and you have a lot of money. And so I was like, it's pretty great, right? And then I was like, the bad news is I was so hungry that I ate your lunch and you need to go buy another one. And I just thought that was kind of funny. She started laughing, and she brought it up maybe a couple years ago, which was funny. But I also remember kind of like my horror story for Michael Jordan, which was, again, show up every day, good things will happen. There was a weekend where I think I hadn't gone to college yet, and one of like kind of the college kids came back on the weekends if they lived close by. But we had a different boss or caddy master who was a younger guy, and he was, from what I remember, he did it pretty like by the books. So he would say, okay, if you're first on the list, whatever tee time is available first, like that's what you get. And it happened to be I was one of the first ones on the list again. And he goes, okay, Michael Jordan's on the books. Like, you're up to get him. And I had not had Michael Jordan at that point yet. And I was pumped. So I was like, oh man, I'm getting Michael Jordan. Like, this is the first time. And that little kid in you probably just saw it. But, well, his tee time was at like 7 a.m. and he didn't show up at 7 a.m. So what happened was the next guy in line, another group showed up, and he assigned me to that group instead of Michael Jordan. And I don't know if this is how he did it every time, but trust me, I was devastated. I was devastated, but I was probably angry. And the kid from college came, and, he probably made more money than I did that whole week just in that one day. And, he ended up getting the kid that came home for one day. So I was really disappointed. That would have been my first Michael Jordan loop, but it did not happen. There was also Jordan had come, a few times. So I remember people saying that they had caddied for Jordan, and he'd come in groups. Ray Allen was there. I think there's some suburban guys. I don't know if he ever came with Pippen, but he came with Charles Oakley. Charles Oakley's a bad man. I mean, like a bad man, meaning like he's as intimidating as he looks and he sounds, probably way more. My Charles Oakley story is he lost the ball and it went in the weeds. Most people would have got out of their carts, walked over and looked in the weeds. He, however, drove over all of the weeds, and I was in no way going to tell him, like, Mr. Oakley, you're not supposed to do that. I was just like, go ahead, whatever you need to do, we'll find the ball. So I remember that. And I don't know if it was that group, because I think that was a Jordan group, because he usually came with Jordan because he was the member. So I was in the group, just not in Jordan's group. So I had Oakley and a few other guys, which was entertaining. And I think the last one as I wrap up is I wasn't a part of it personally, but there's another guy who ended up actually caddying for Jordan and Tiger Woods. So you'd always hear the stories, and like that's where the the golf card is like it's in the pro shop. With Tiger Woods, I think he shot like 59, which is a very low score. I don't have all the details on that one, but just the fact that Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods, that's when Tiger Woods was, you know, winning majors and what have you. But, you know, that's all I have. I'm just going to share with you a couple of things. I'm hoping to do this every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. So I'm doing my best to, you know, I'm blogging now. I'm sharing. The idea is that I'm going to write a blog post. It's going to be shared on early Monday morning, and I've got a couple set up, so I'm ready. And then Friday, I'm going to be on Facebook Live. Every once in a while, I'll do a blog post, but mostly it's going to be your Facebook Live, Instagram Live, and kind of talk about just some of the behind the scenes, some of the things that happen. And hey, if this wasn't perfect or if this didn't interest you, there's other things that are coming. And also, I'm gonna get better. I promise. I'm gonna probably review this 100 times and make sure that I'm gonna get better. But my name's Steven, aka Even Steven Money. Check me out at evenstevenmoney.com. I don't know if I'll always be this fancy with the shirt and the collared shirt. This is the first collared shirt and long sleeve I wore in since I worked at the bank. So I'm hoping to do more of these. I find them fun. They may be interactive in the future, but I know, you know, it's a small community right now. I'm just starting again. So I really appreciate all of those who came. If you want to leave me feedback, you want to hit me up, Even Steven Money, go ahead and email me, evenstevenmoney@gmail.com. Hit me up on Facebook, Instagram. I'm always here to make it better. I'm always here to help. I'm not selling anything. Yes, I'm a money coach, but I'm not selling anything right now. I don't plan on it other than, I guess, selling myself to help you, but that's for another time. That's it. That's all I got. Thanks again. Get better again. I'm out for the day. I hope you have a great day as well. Hope you have a great weekend. Thanks again. Big thumbs up.